for the last time, he doesn't land the plane upside down. That's totally unbelievable. No, he flies the plane upside down, turns it back right side up, and then lands it all while drunk. That's much more believable, right? Flight, starring Denzel Washington as a pilot who is also a functional alcoholic. That's putting it mildly. And on one of his trips, the plane starts to go down, but through his miraculous flying and piloting, he manages to save most of the people on board. And then what happens to his life after that? Is he a hero? Is he a villain? How does he deal with all that, knowing the truth about what happened on that flight? This is a deep and intricate movie about alcoholism and a few other things, I think, as well. Let's break it down into parts because I think it deserves it. Number one, the accident scene. This is the big first set piece in the movie. It is set up expertly by Robert Zemeckis, and then it is executed expertly in the same manner. This is edge of your seat, intense movie making. And if nothing else about this movie, that flight scene where he is landing this plane and figuring out what to do, and the way Denzel acts in that moment and is instructive to other people and interacts in those relationships is just breathtaking and a joy to watch. It is some of my favorite moments on film in 2012 in watching what happens in that accident. Now, after that, there's this whole other part of the movie that involves his functional alcoholism, how he deals with that, how he deals with the press, the relationships in his life, much more of kind of the Oscar meat if he was going to be nominated for an Academy Award. Let's break that down into a couple parts. Number one, his performance. It's great. Denzel is Denzel, and he does a phenomenal job here portraying what is something I don't know that I've ever really seen to this degree, and I've mentioned the phrase a few times, functional alcoholism, which is this idea that somebody can be an alcoholic, be drunk, even be high on cocaine or whatever, and still manage to do the jobs that they need to do. And my understanding is that this is real. There are real people who are functional addicts. They're able to both be addicted to a substance and also function in their day-to-day life. Does that make it good? Does that make it okay? No, it's never okay for a pilot to get on a plane drunk and high off his mind off of cocaine. And that's kind of the point this movie is making, and it lets you deal with your internal struggle, wanting to maybe root for him in some ways, feel sorry for him in some ways, but at the end, it wants you to really feel that he might get what he deserves. And I'm not going to get any of kind of the final plot and where it goes. I don't want to give any of that away because I think the way the movie gets there is pretty inspired. But I will say that's the message it wants to leave you with, is that even if you can get away with it, that it's not okay. And I think that's a pretty decent message to walk away with in a movie like this. Now, there are other things in this movie besides Denzel's acting performance, which I think gives it that kind of solidity to those performances after the accident. Don Cheadle, actually, I should mention, is great as well. But beside that, the story is kind of over the top and tries to kind of pull those emotions out at you at some points. And I did feel it was a little cloying and a little over the top. So that took me out of it. I also feel like it could have been tighter, could have been shorter. And there are many things, many times I felt like, okay, can we get to the next thing? This relationship isn't as important as you think it is, or doesn't inform the story in the way that I wanted it to. But that's really a slight thing. I think overall this is a pretty amazing movie. I will say Zemeckis also is working in the rated R territory in a very full and complete way. And right from the bat, right from the first image on the screen in this movie, he is saying, okay, we're adults and you're going to see some adult things because I want you to know who this person is and what their life is. So I would give that as a warning as well, just in case. So overall, this is a movie that has something to say, I think says it well, and I think it's important to say. Oh, I wanted to mention also the religious overtones of this movie. I can't believe I almost forgot to mention that. So many of these scenes deal with talking about who God is and destiny and purpose, and there are all these kind of religious imagery. You know, the plane, when it crashes down, crashes through a church steeple, and there's a group of believers there worshiping, and there's really a sense of questioning why God does what he does and why he allows things to happen that he allows to happen, and it gives this whole secondary texture to the message that I really kind of appreciated, because those are worthy things to think about and to consider. Overall, a pretty amazing film with some minor flaws that has something to say and I think says it well.